Chair now recognizes the gentleman from Illinois, Mr. Hultgren, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Dr. Gallagher. I'm confused about the purpose of the institutes. The administration website states that they may conduct basic and applied research, but I know other documentation suggests that the institutes will focus on applied research in order to scale up new technologies in the U.S. This definitely would squarely place such work outside the basic research domain. Which is it?
Both. So the intent is to have the institute program is designed to stand up and form these institutes where you can have mixed, you can bridge this gap between basic and applied and between much more developmental activities. So the institutes themselves need to support a broad range of research activities. I think one of the key questions you're raising is where's the federal funding going? The federal funding for those research activities would be done on a project-by-project basis. So it would certainly be appropriate for some project being done maybe at the institute to be supported by federal funding if it was in basic, inappropriate basic or applied window. But if it's really out in an area that's getting closer to technology development for a particular company, we do not envision that to be something that would be publicly funded. In fact, one of the major objectives of these institutes is that they create a venue, a vehicle that's attractive for increasing investment in R&D by companies.
Would there be a check on that? Because, I mean, I really do think a time like this when resources are so tight, I'm a strong proponent of supporting basic scientific research, but it's really that application where the private sector has shown an ability and a willingness to do it. How are we going to make sure that we're not spending federal dollars on, in an area that we shouldn't be?
So, you know, there's two tensions here. The way I think this will play out in practice is through the actual cooperative agreements that cover project-specific activities. And that's how we will ensure that, you know, federally funding doesn't go for something that's inappropriate. There's going to be a mixture of activities in these institutes, and that can't be a recipe for inappropriately mixing funding against what it was purposed for. That being said, you know, you're raising this important issue, which is in tight times we focus to mission unique, and the government provides basic research, and that's part of what's been driving the strong segregation of participation. So we're fighting. You're exactly right. You don't want inappropriate funding, but you also still need to create a vehicle where that proximity and that technical interaction can continue to occur, and that's kind of the key question.
Well, I do wonder, and kind of going to the next point, you know, would we really need such direct support for manufacturing, applied research and development? Would it even be necessary, you know, if government intervention was directed instead at reducing general taxes, regulatory burdens that really are hindering American companies? I wonder if there's another way at getting this accomplished rather than some of the direct support.
So I'm going to, you know, my take on that would be there's two issues here. One is I would agree with you entirely that for manufacturing to be competitive, we have to do all of these things. It's not enough to simply have access to good ideas and technology if you can't compete and sell it in a global market. No question. The institutes are a piece of a larger puzzle, and the piece that they're after is making sure that the transfer of knowledge is as efficient as possible between the investments we do make as a country in basic and applied research and what we hope to be their commercial use in manufacturing. That gap is real, and I think even doing things like lowering R&D, increasing the R&D tax credit and things of that type, while it supports efforts by individual companies to enhance and grow their research investments, the missing issue is how to get them to work in longer intermediate range research where individual companies have been reluctant to make those longer term commitments. And we believe that by working together in these type of shared research institutes and this type of shared research infrastructure that you facilitate that because they leverage each other's investment. And that's really the idea both behind consortia and behind the call for this type of infrastructure.
My time is running low, but if I can try and get one more very specific funding question. Information on the fiscal year 2012 funding for the Pilot Institute has been unclear as to the total amount of funding available and which agencies are supporting the pilot financially. In some cases, at least $45 million has been posted, while in other, up to $45 million. I wonder if you could please clarify briefly the amount that has already or will be spent from fiscal year 2012 funds on the pilot and which agency funds are being used.
So the quickest way for me to give you the full breakdown will be to share a table with you afterwards, which I'm happy to do.
Great, thank you.
But it is up to 45. The amount that's part of the joint call, which is part of a joint solicitation that's being carried out by the Defense Department, NSF, NASA, and DOE, is 30. And then what we've identified is once the institute is established, it would be a likely candidate for additional funds on a competitive basis, and that's where the up to comes from. But I think the table will answer your question most succinctly.
Okay, good. Thanks, Dr. Gallagher. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.